Hey there, welcome to Professor Pearl, a YouTube channel about knitting and other crafts. I'm Nicole, and today I'm with Karen from the Knotty Lamb. Hey there, I am in my car getting ready to leave to go to Knotty Lamb, which is in Forest Grove, Oregon. I checked my GPS and it says it's a 29-minute drive from my house. So yeah, I've been there before and I thought it was a half hour, and it is quite literally almost a half-hour drive. And the drive is really beautiful. I drive through pretty rural Oregon, so through some wooded areas, past some vineyards. I won't be able to show you because I'm going by myself, so you just have to close your eyes and imagine that. And I'm actually wearing a sweater that I've made, the Diaphanous Raglan by Jessie May. I'm wearing that out of yarn that I purchased from Knotty Lamb. So I'm gonna head over there and record some video of the store, and tomorrow actually I will hop onto Zoom with the owner and do an interview. So this video should be a blend of video footage from the store and also Zoom, and I'm really excited about it. I'm Nicole, And today I'm with Karen from the Knotty Lamb.
Hello.
Thanks so much for letting me come to your store yesterday when it was closed and video it. That was such a special experience for me. Your store is so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. It was my pleasure.
It's just not to cheeseball, but I really feel like it is like one of the best yarn stores I've ever been in. It's just so well curated, and yeah, I'll stop cheesing. So
okay. No, I like it. Thank you. It's nice to hear. I'm not in the shop all the time, so I don't hear all those comments, and so the staff has to relay it to me because, you know, with anything, I'm like, am I doing an okay job? Is this good? And so it's nice to hear.
yeah, so since I'll just continue a little bit of cheeseballing for a second, but I always do the roasted yarn crawl. And when I first had my baby, like I couldn't go to like all the yarn stores, but yours is always one that I want to go to. And so even if I can't go to all the yarn stores, like yours is one that I always make sure I try to go to. And then last year with COVID, like it was just so difficult to know what to do. And so I mostly just shopped to virtual, but I decided I would go to one store in person, and it was your store.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
Okay, I'll stop the cheese balling. So I would really love to know about your fiber story or your knitting story. Like, yeah, how'd you get into knitting?
Sure. It's a pretty simple story. It's not anything exciting. I grew up on a farm in farm country, and 4-H was big. And so the local 4-H offered a learn how to knit course. And so I signed up with one of my friends and we took it. And so I learned at a lady's house in the middle of the country, you know, with the straight needles, just doing the knit and the purl. I think I was 13. And so I made some scarves. I made my first sweater. Unfortunately, I didn't keep it. So anybody who's a new knitter, I highly recommend keep your very first garments, even though at one time you're going to be, oh my gosh, those were horrible. I regret not having mine. And so that's just how I learned to knit. I didn't stick with it heavily through high school and college. It kind of dropped. I was also into horses. And so that hobby took preference at the time. And then once I had my family and I had my first baby, I picked up the knitting needles again, and it just snowballed heavily from there.
Fun fact about me, I also did 4-H.
Oh,
and I also did 4-H knitting, but I didn't do like, you know, horses or anything else. Like a lot of people did that. So when you said you made your first sweater and then you said you were into knitting in high school, does that mean you made your first sweater before high school?
Yes.
Oh, that's
yes.
So neat.
It was a bright mint green. And so I had the knit stitched down really well, and I had the purl stitched down. And so I came across this basket weave sweater, and it was bright mint green and all acrylic yarn. And it took a long time. My grandmother needed to help me with a few things. I think some of the decreases and stuff with the sleeves. I remember that. But it took me a long time to do.
I don't know how old you are, and I'm not going to ask you that. Like, but you seem like you're about my age, and so, and I've been like,
I'm 45. I'm 45.
I'm 30. So, okay. I was into childhood knitting as well, and so when you said you made your first sweater as a child, what I'm wondering is, was it seamed? Because I feel like a lot of sweaters back then were knit in pieces and sewn. I don't want to overgeneralize, but I was wondering.
It was make the front, you know, make the back, make the sleeves, and then seam it all together. And I think that's where I was like, Grandma, help.
Replicate the sweater.
It wasn't one that I wanted to keep, but I do regret it. But it's, you know, it's where I started. So everybody starts somewhere.
Can you tell me like how you got to a point where you wanted to start a yarn store, and if there's a story behind the name Knotty Lamb or anything like that?
Yes, my youngest child was in her last year of she was in pre-kindergarten, and my husband said, "What are you going to do? She's going to kindergarten next year and it's full day. What are you going to do?" And I was like, I don't know. And prior to having kids, I was an architect. And so I didn't really want to go back into corporate because I know that's long hours, weekend work. It was not flexible for being there for kids. And so it took quite a while to figure out what I wanted to do. The local yarn shop in town had closed a couple of years prior. And I was starting new projects and noticing like I've got to drive far, 30, 40 minutes to get to a shop. And I was like, well, maybe I could start a shop out here. So it kind of, a little seed was planted, and I was like, nah, I didn't go to school for business. I don't know what I'm doing, kind of thing. And then the local town put out a advertisement saying, come take the course on how to start a business in Oregon. And it was at our local fire station. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this might be a sign. Maybe not, but it might be. So it was kind of all little steps I could take. And so I signed up for the course, and I'm like, I'm not committing, I'm just taking the course. And so I took the course, and I'm like, okay, well, and I remember she's my friend, but she also works for me. And she reminds me, remember when you said to me when we were picking up the kids from school one day, I think I might open a yarn shop, but don't tell anybody. It's like, it's like the worst marketing ever. Like, I think I might, but don't tell anybody in case I don't. And then it just slowly snowballed, and it was just kind of, well, we'll see if there's a place in town that works. And I found this place. So it had been vacant for a few years prior. And then maybe we'll do a short lease and see how it goes. So it just snowballed. And then once I was in it, I was like, this is great, kind of thing. I love having a shop. I have, unfortunately, very little time for knitting just because I'm so busy with it and the kids and everything. But I'm so happy that I was able to create a place that people could come in and feel welcomed and, experience a lot of indie dyed yarns on hand. And I'm just pretty proud of what it's become. But I was very unsure of it at the beginning.
I feel like you should be really proud. It's so fun store. And so obviously there's probably like so many things that are special about your store, but I was just wondering if you could share something that you personally think is special about your store.
I think probably the thing that I am most proud about is the amount of indie dyers we have. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of work to go and find them. I am constantly hunting. I want to make sure we have ones that have great quality, great, just fabulous indie dyers. And so seeing ones that also aren't at every yarn shop. I want some that are unique and some that, haven't been given a stage to showcase their art yet, kind of thing. And so when people do come, they usually are like, oh, never heard of this indie. Oh, I've never heard of this indie. Well, that's why we come here. So the amount of indie dyers, I think, is what I'm most proud about in this shop.
So yesterday when I was in your store, I'm departing a little bit from the when I was in your store, I noticed that you had some really cool Canadian brands that I have not really been able to see in person other places, like the Shirley Bryan. You had a lot of Shirley. Am I saying that right? Shirley Bryan yarn.
Uh-huh.
And
yes. Becky,
yes. And Becky has Shirley Bryan, and then Lilo and Roxy. Mm-hmm. And I forgot what you said did you say that you lived a little bit in Canada?
Oh, I fully grew up in Canada. I lived there.
Yeah.
I fully, yeah.
Huh?
My parents moved us up there when I was 4, and I lived there, did all my education there, and then moved back down to the States when I was 23. Yeah, the end of 23 into 20, just before I turned 24.
So
Yeah,
that's
so
fun.
a lot. Yeah, Canada, I feel, is home. I feel like it's my home kind of thing, even though I've been in the States longer now. But my childhood is all up in Canada. I still have friends up in there. I have family up there. So,
Aw.
yeah.
You just need a cute Canadian accent. I don't hear it.
I've been in the States for a while. I've lost it. But when I go back, it
Like,
slowly comes back in.
I love it so much. I have a funny story, which is some of my favorite podcasters are Canadian. Like I serious. And and you know those little progress keepers that you put on your like your knitting and stuff like this to keep track. Well, Canadians say progress. And so all the time I'll be like talking to my husband and I'll say something like progress, whatever. And he's like, you're not Canadian. But like, you know, with COVID, like you don't hang out with a lot of people, just like YouTube. And it's like I keep trying to like pick up their word progress instead of progress. And I just think it's so funny. I have to like literally think like say it like you are American because you're not Canadian.
Yes, there's a few things that it's just different.
Do you say toque too? Do you say toque instead of hat?
I say beanie now because I've been here long enough, but yes, I grew up with toque.
Okay. One last thing. Yesterday you were wearing a Mema, and I should have taken a picture of you in it, but I didn't. And then it looks like you've got different knitwear on today.
I do. This is pattern 48. Yeah, pattern 48 by Bichet Bouche.
Oh,
and so it's their own. It uses Le Petit lamb's wool, and it's a very simple, very lightweight, so you don't want to get weighed down. It's a great kind of cowl.
I'm glad you said Bichet Bouche because I wanted to practice saying that. I was smitten with the Bichet Bouche. Is it worsted in there?
Oh, the La Grasse mohair.
Is it actually worsted or is it a light DK? Like
it's a DK, but I have it next to the La Grasse lamb's wool.
Because I just finished knitting a Anchors it's summer shirt, but I did it in a tweed. Incidentally, that I got yarn that I got from your store at a what's it called when the dyer?
Oh, the trunk show.
Trunk show at a trunk show. I was like, what's that word? and I called it my fall shirt, even though it's like the petite knits summer shirt. And so last night I just kept thinking about the Bichet Bouche to do because it's like a DK weight and it's supposed to be a summer shirt, but you could do it in that mo.
Yes.
And it would be a winter shirt.
Yes. It's a heavier brand. It's wonderful. I love all of their.
Anyway, so, okay, I'll get back to questions. Okay, so, you know, you're the matriarch of Knotty Lamb. So what's your favorite part of running, leading, working Knotty Lamb?
Favorite part of it. It's probably the whole package. I think even on the busiest, hardest day at Knotty Lamb, it's still more enjoyable and rewarding to me than when I work corporate. But that's just me. I know that there's a lot of people who absolutely love corporate and that's where they're meant to be. I just have found out that I've meant to be here running this, and I mean, I get to work with wonderful ladies from my staff. We get to have fabulous customers come in and, you know, see regulars and meet new people and just also seeing people when they come through the door, their faces light up. I mean, if you're coming into a yarn shop, you're usually happy to be here unless you are the spouse getting dragged in kind of thing, which we have a nice, comfy chair, sofa and chairs to sit in. But just what I can offer and bring to people who love the craft kind of thing. It's a nice feeling.
So fun. When you mentioned like the couches for the spouse, I wanted to share that my husband's actually a knitter as well.
Oh, good.
And,
oh, good.
So yeah, I have a husband knitter. I keep trying to convince him to like make an appearance on my channel, but he's like super introverted and shy. So no.
Eventually, you'll get him
Yeah,
eventually.
he's knit sweaters and he's knit my girl like a baby blanket. I was like, can you imagine your dad making you your baby blanket for when you're born? Like, isn't that the sweetest?
That would be yes, that would be very special.
Okay, so I mentioned the Lamb Good Fibers at your store. So is that your store yarn? And I think it is. And is it other places or just your store? And are you the dyer behind it? Can you tell us about the Lamb Good Fibers?
Yes, Lamb Good Fibers is my basically second company that I started. It is a separate entity to Knotty Lamb, but Knotty Lamb obviously will carry it kind of thing as it can. So it has its own website, it has its own Instagram kind of thing. It will have yarns on its website that aren't in Knotty Lamb. So it's two separate companies, but I am the dyer for it. And I dye out of my garage. I learned from my friend Heather from House of Ella Mode. I went and spent a very long day in her shop learning the basics. And so once I had those, I went home and got started and launched it March of 2020. So right in time for COVID to hit. So there's a lot of people who, you know, haven't been into the shop since COVID and haven't experienced it in person. And so it'll be a nice surprise when, you know, a lot of people do return from them. But yes, it's I guess, yes, it is the house yarn for the shop, but it's also its own thing. Cool. And I do have wholesale when there is time. I think I've sent some to Sarasota, Good Yarn in Sarasota. They took a shipment, but most of my time it's trying to keep this shop full of it. Yeah, this shop full of it, and then being able to offer special things on the actual website for Lamb Good Fibers.
So fun. So my impression of the yarn line is that it's like classic with like a little twist. I don't know if that's fair or like how you feel about that, but like it's really classic colors, but then sometimes it's like, surprise, there's a little twist.
Yes.
And so, yeah, you want to tell me about
yeah, so my comfort zone is classic colors, neutrals and stuff. But since I've been running the yarn shop, I'll get yarns from indie dyers and I'm like, oh my gosh, that fluorescent pink is awesome. And so I'll go out of my comfort zone a little bit here and there. And so I've brought it into my dyeing also. Depending on the mood, depending on the weather, I'll be like, I'm going bright today, and I'll do something really bright and see how it goes. And you know, a lot of wonderful sweaters that I've seen created, they have neutral colors, and then they've got this one pop of accent color through it just to make a certain area pop. And I think it's gorgeous. So that's kind of where I go off of, you know, not necessarily everything being loud, but pops here and there, and trying to offer some things for some people who do love the loud stuff. We have something available for them too. So
I was laughing because I to the loud stuff. Like this is, I've got this yarn at your store and you do such a good job pronouncing it. It's that, was it?
Tout le monde.
And this is probably like a more calm color of what I normally pick, but I think it's the most beautiful thing I've ever made. But the reason I was laughing is because when I was in your store, I think this summer, I bought this crazy bright slub yarn. So like, first of all, slub's already a little louder. And
it's a fabulous yarn.
It is. I love it. And it was like bright neon pink and like oranges, and it was just so loud. And so then I was like, you know what? I'm going to pair it with a more calm pink. And from your Lamb Good wall, you had some Surrey, and there was this kind of calm pink. So I paired this neon with this like calm pink, and I made a love note with no lace, and it's like turned out to be like one of the best sweaters in my wardrobe. Like after I hang up with you, I'm gonna like show some sweaters I've made from yarn from your store, and like that's one of them that's like the best sweater I've made.
Yeah, I think pairing yarns is fabulous because you can get ones that you're like, well, I was going to do with it, you had something in mind and it didn't quite work out. And so what am I going to do with it now? And if you just pair a Surrey or a mohair with it, you can completely brighten it up or tone it down. And it's crazy how the color can change just by carrying two yarns together. I mean, you can become your own artist just with, pairing the yarns kind of things. It's great.
Okay, so my impression, I told you this yesterday too, when I was in your store, is it really feels like it is a destination store. Like people should take a trip, like anywhere in the US and visit your store. Like feels like a destination shop. And so if somebody was to do a trip out to see you, like let's say they're in the Pacific Northwest and it's like a day trip, what kinds of things would you suggest in addition to your yarn store?
So first off, we are located in wine country and we have a week's worth. I mean, you can go from winery to, you can make it a really fun trip if you want to. But there are so many wineries around here. And so visiting the local wineries is a great option. We also are on the way to the coast. And so a lot of people who might be going to Cannon Beach or Seaside for the weekend will tend to come and stop in and pick up, and some yarn for casting on a new project and enjoying their weekend. We are close to Portland. So those who want to go into the city and see, nightlife and events, we're only, 40 minutes maybe from Portland. So we're not far at all.
You're close to, you're part of the Rose City Yarn Crawl.
So. We are part of this Rose City Yarn Crawl. So we are in the radius of the circle that they consider part of the crawl. So yes, we're very thrilled to be in that event. It's a fun one. So yeah. We have great restaurants. So it's even just a great afternoon out to come and see. And we have a lot of restaurants that you can enjoy lunch and dinner and even breakfast at, depending on what time you come. But yeah, you can spend quite a few hours in here if you want.
My other hobby besides yarn, like knitting, is wine. And
it's a good one.
So I just feel like I live somewhere like perfect. So I 10 out of 10 recommend making a wine country trip out here and visiting some yarn stores.
Yeah, there's a lot. There is a lot of wineries. It's great. There's a lot.
Karen, this has been so fabulous. So thank you so much for doing this interview and showing me your store yesterday. And I hope everybody really enjoys the video and things like that. So thanks.
Well, thank you. It was my pleasure. And I hope people do come out and see us. And if you can't, most everything is available online and we've got fast shipping. But yeah, we do want customers to come in and see the yarn and experience the yarn. And yeah, it's great.
I find your website to be really user-friendly and also pretty attractive. Like I was really enjoying myself last night watching Dancing with the Stars and looking at the website after I spent time in your store.
Looking at the mohair.
All right.
Good. Well, that's good. That's good feedback.
footage of Knotty Lamb. And now I'm going to show you some knits that I've made out of yarn that I've purchased from Knotty Lamb. So the first thing I'll start with is this sweater. This is a Love Note sweater by Tin Can Knits. If you watch my podcast episodes, you might recognize this sweater and my other sweaters, but this is a Love Note that I made with no lace. I think it's the perfect sweater with no lace. And my friend Brenda was moving away to Texas, and we sort of did our last trip to Knotty Lamb together. And when we were in the store together, I saw this beautiful slub yarn. Incidentally, there's a lot of slub yarn at Knotty Lamb right now. If you are watching this video close to when it was published on YouTube. And I knew I wanted to use it, but I didn't know what. So my go-to is the Love Note, because for me, it's like 2 skeins of fingering and 2 skeins of mohair, and you got a sweater. So the Lamb Good Fibers has that house line of yarn. It has a lot of classic colors, but also a good selection of Surrey, and there was this beautiful pink that I paired. And I know this is really bright on your screen, but believe it or not, that pale pink actually toned down the slub yarn. I know, it's probably hard to believe that this was toned down, but so yeah, I really am glad that I made this, and after visiting Knotty Lamb, I actually feel really inspired to knit another, maybe not slub, but another indie dyed no lace version. It's super comfortable. It's like wearing a t-shirt or a sweatshirt, which are my favorite things to wear, but I feel like I look a little bit more put together than if I was wearing casual clothes. So yeah, this is so good. The second thing I've made from yarn from Knotty Lamb is this really beautiful diaphanous raglan from Jessie May. I truly feel like this is maybe the most beautiful thing I've ever made. When I wear it, I just feel so good about myself and confident, and I just think it's a good color. And the pattern came with different sleeve options, and yeah, so this is single mohair, the sleeve. I was wearing this in the interview with Knotty Lamb. Maybe it was hard to tell because it was a Zoom interview, but I was wearing this. And then this is fingering and mohair held together. There's that sweet detail in the V-neck. It's also a little cropped. It's so good. And I actually have quite a bit of mohair left over. This is the brand. It's French. I will link it below. I don't think Knotty Lamb currently, today, if you're watching this near its air date or upload date, I don't think they have a ton of this particular yarn to make one of these right now, but they have so many other different types of indie dyed yarn and tons of mohair options to knit one of these. For me, this just took two, maybe 1.5 singles and only 1 mohair. And I had bought 2 mohairs and I didn't even tap the second one. So maybe, I don't think I bought 3 mohairs. I don't know, but I have this whole extra mohair. It's hard to remember. I'm having a hard time remembering right now. But this is my color, so I'm thinking I will use it for a hat or something. And the third sweater I've made out of yarn from Knotty Lamb is yarn that I purchased at a trunk show. You've probably seen this if you watch my podcast. This is my most recent finished object out of the 3 sweaters I've just shown you. Although it's my most recent finished object, I would say it's my most worn finished object already. This is, I think, either my first or second time wearing this, and I've only worn the diaphanous raglan maybe 3 times, and this, I can't even count how many times I've worn it already. So this is a DK yarn in tweed. Cedar House yarns. It's so good. And the pattern is by Petite Knit, and it's called the Summer Shirt. And my joke is that this is my fall shirt because I did it in tweed. But after visiting Knotty Lamb, I'm convinced now I need to make a winter shirt. And I will link this yarn below, but they have a worsted light worsted DK mohair. And it was so good. And for the past 3 nights in a row, I just opened the Knotty Lamb website and I look at the colors of this yarn. So I think I need an Anchors summer shirt, an Anchors fall shirt, and an Anchors winter shirt. I think this is so funny. But I think it would be really cool. I think this is so beautiful and I love it. I think these 2 sweaters look like they belong in the same wardrobe. And this one's kind of like, ooh, but I love this one too. So these are my 3 sweaters from yarn that I purchased at Knotty Lamb. I have also knit a sock out of yarn from Knotty Lamb, which I just want to show you this. I think I really need to finish these socks so I can wear this like as an outfit, like this sweater and these socks. I have 1 sock and I'm working on the 2nd sock. Now this yarn is from a Canadian company that I think is really cool called Shirley Bryan Yarns. I looked all over my house for the label that came on this yarn because out of the plethora of yarn brands that exist in the world, Shirley Bryan Yarns label, like, to me is epic. If I could give a label award, it would be to them. Love it. It's a cute little Tyrannosaurus Rex knitting. It's everything. So that's this yarn. This was a sock set, and sock sets I just kind of swoon over because instead of a 100-gram skein of yarn, it's a 50-gram skein of yarn with a mini. And with that, so this was a 50-gram skein, and then there was a mini. And so you can see I don't have a lot of yarn left, which is awesome. I think it's a very efficient use of yarn. And it makes like purchasing the kit of yarn with the contrast like slightly cheaper than buying a full 100-gram skein of indie dye yarn with contrasting minis. And so, yeah, I loved this sock yarn set. And actually I bought one of these for my mom for Christmas last year. And she's knit her socks, and my friends, I taught them how to knit socks, 2 of my work friends last year, and we met at a winery outside, and yeah, and I taught them how to knit with the Shirley. They knew how to knit. I taught them how to knit socks, and we used this kit of the sock set kit. And if you're watching this video near the time I've uploaded it on YouTube, Knotty Lamb has a lot of Shirley Bryan yarn right now, and I also don't know, I don't remember what the colorway of this was called, but it was something cute. Like most of their yarn names have really fun names. Shirley Bryan Yarns is also known for like, I think like these kind of fades, but in addition to doing cool fades, she also does like really nice speckling like this. Yeah, so those are my makes that I've made from yarn that I purchased from Knotty Lamb. I hope you enjoyed them, and I hope they provide you some inspiration if you choose to check out their website. And I hope you really enjoyed getting to meet Knotty Lamb.